Hello, welcome back. My name is Dalila Brooks, and today I'm at Blair Road Community Garden in Northwest Washington, D.C. This is my other garden space. It's time of the year to offer thanks and practice gracious giving. We oftentimes do that through food social gatherings. As we embark upon Thanksgiving, we were going to visit another home gardener. However, I wanted to share some ways I practice gratitude in one of my gardens. I say a few short phrases of thanks, sometimes even quietly to myself. I rejoice in song. I might play uplifting music and sing along or make up my own songs. I sit and allow myself a few moments of silence for all I do not know to thank. I harvest and make something of the harvest within a day or so of picking the produce. I'm growing a few items that are used traditionally for Thanksgiving meals, like kale. You'll see some in the background. Today, I'm adding a unique spin to my kale with additional root veggies I have growing in my garden, but are not ready to harvest. So I'll be using store-bought ingredients to go along with the recipe. There are quite a few organizations, newly developed and long-standing, that offer those in need fresh produce, not just for Thanksgiving, but for every day. Take a look. In this little area here, they received some fresh produce that they're actually going to donate to local food banks, to show you how important fresh produce is to those in need and to those maintaining a healthy diet, and doing so with the help and care of others. Now, what this community organization is doing is they're handing out food directly to people. This is taking place every Thursdays in front of Safeway off of Georgia Avenue in Washington, D.C. This is the name of the organization, and there is a line around the corner. So now we're back at home, and this is the kale that I've actually harvested, and I'm so very thankful that I have all this variety to actually prepare for my side dish and for my vegan meal. In addition to the kale, I've actually harvested some cilantro, and there's plenty of cilantro here, some hot peppers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a special sauce out of that and put that to the side. But today we're going to focus primarily on the different types of kale that I have here, and just preparing the kale in a different way that still serves the tradition of having a Thanksgiving meal. Now, kale is rich in iron, vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin C, antioxidants, and quite a few other things. To the right, you'll notice that there's this winter red kale, and that's what this is. It almost looks like kind of a hand if it was blowing in the wind, waving at you. It's very unique, and right next to that is considered a white Russian type of kale. It's almost similar to the curly kale, but it's almost like a mix between the curly kale and a collard green. And also to the far left is lacinato kale. They also call it black cabbage, and it has a dark blue-green leaves, as you can see here, that are very textural. So all three of these types of kale are going to be mixed together, and in addition to that, the root vegetables I'm using are carrots, and I have some chopped up here that were purchased from the store, and also some ginger. That'll add a little bit of heat to the whole dish. And if I do add the cilantro to it, it might just be the fresh cilantro and some chopped up hot peppers. And I've added some olive oil, just enough to cover the pan. What we're going to do is start off with, you see my tongs there. We're going to start off by putting a few carrots in and letting those saute down. Generally, I like the olive oil to get a little bit warmer than this. And then a little bit of ginger, just a little bit of ginger, and let that cook down a little bit. And I have a few hot peppers here, and then you see that these, the greens have been chopped or rinsed and chopped and set aside. So once these actually cook down a little bit, we're going to add the greens and a little bit of the hot peppers, and a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt or pink Himalayan salt. There's also black Himalayan salt, I prefer the pink. The black has a different type of flavoring to it. It tastes a little bit like eggs. But this one is very, very salty, so you use it sparingly. But it also has a lot of a lot of health benefits as well. You can look those up separately, and we'll check back in a few. So the carrots have cooked down a little bit, as you can see. I'm adding a little bit more ginger here. I like the fresh flavor ginger adds to it, plus it adds a little bit of heat. In addition to the hot peppers that are chopped up, without the seeds, they actually are much more mild, this particular variety. And then I'm going to add a little bit of pink Himalayan salt. You can get a package of pink Himalayan salt from the dollar store if you're lucky, if it's still available. Otherwise, you can find it from your regular grocery, and it's worth the investment. Otherwise, I would recommend sea salt, because they all have great benefits, health benefits, and restoring your body. If you do have high blood pressure, then I would consult your physician before making sure you add too much to any dish. And like I said, with Himalayan salt, it's very, very salty, so you need far less than you do with regular table salt. So after this, I'm going to add the greens a little bit at a time and let them cook down. As you can see, I'm sauteing them, and this is what I like to do with most of my greens generally, because it retains a lot of the nutrition of the greens, and it doesn't cook out of it. If I'm boiling the greens, I like to usually season it so that I can drink the juice of the greens and to get additional nutrients. But this way, the nutrient stays in the greens itself, and it becomes not too crunchy, and it's still mild. It depends on the type of green it is. These are not really, really rough or tough greens, rather. They're pretty tender already. So as you can see, I'm just going to stir fry these, and I'm not going to cook everything at this particular time, but I'll just continue to move it around until the greens are nicely wilted and they still maintain the bright green that they had when they were picked, so they don't turn kind of like the army green or a little darker green after some greens are boiled for some time. That way you can tell some of the nutrients are still here in the greens. And now, while these are being prepared, I've actually, on the side, I've made a couple of other dishes that will accompany this side dish. My main dish is actually black bean, get this, black bean casserole. And so I made it my own barbecue sauce and added that to it, and a few other ingredients. Set that aside, and some Japanese sweet potatoes, which I'm mashing up, and I'm going to have that with butter. They're wonderful flavor, and when you actually prepare those, you really don't need to add anything else. But if you want a nice dessert, you can prepare them, just cook them, bake them, boil them, add a little bit of salt, a little bit of butter, one or the other, and you can add some pecans to it, and it makes a wonderful, it almost tastes like pecan pie. For those pecan pie connoisseurs, do not get mad at me, because I'm sure you'll beg to differ, but for those people who are used to a little bit of less of a sugar in their sweets, you'll appreciate the natural sweetness of this particular potato. And it has its own kind of burgundy color on the outside, and it's white on the inside. So now these are cooking down quite nicely, as you can see. And I'm just going to let them rest here for a few moments. So here we have a plated vegan meal For Thanksgiving, there's Japanese sweet potatoes. They're also called Asian sweet potatoes. They're a burgundy potato with white on the inside. Very sweet, has a wonderful sweet flavor, very different than your traditional sweet potatoes. Then there's a black bean casserole made with homemade barbecue sauce and topped with fresh cilantro from the garden, from my garden, and a mix of different types of kale, and all mixed with some root vegetables, with carrots and ginger. And I'm about to enjoy this wonderful meal, and thank you all for tuning in and joining me while I prepared this meal and harvested this meal. And also for the garden fairies for allowing everything to grow so that I can continue to nourish myself. And I have plenty more that I'll be sharing with members of my family later today. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.